I'm going to talk about how you train translators and where you can decide how to do that. And I'm going to talk about 4 things. I've even prepared this. I'm going to talk about what academics think we should do and how bad that is. I'm going to talk about what employers think we should do and how bad they are. Then I'm going to talk about studies of what students want and how good those are, and then studies of where graduates go and how absolutely excellent they are. So I'm obviously not being neutral here at all. Point number 1. You can get models of what's called translation competence, and it's got lots of skills and all related and big diagrams. There are ones by Pacte out of Barcelona. There's one by Dorothy Kelly. There are 2 from the European Masters of Translation, the latest one, 2017. And you can just pick that up and say, blueprint, this is how we have to train translators, and I have to do all these things in the program. You can do that. Anybody can do that. What's wrong with it? There's no evidence for any of those models. All of those models have been produced the way academics do, like the academics lined up here. We could talk for a couple of days and all get to some consensus and then decide this is the way we're going to train translators. 0 empirical evidence. It just means that some teachers agree with each other. And I'm afraid the models that I've just listed are like that. How do I know? Because the models change over the years, but the profession doesn't change profoundly, or not in ways that could be explained by these models. So I tend to put aside those abstract models of translation competence and move on to other things. There have been surveys of what employers are looking for in translators. The most complete was done in the European Masters of Translation, that is done for the European Commission, with quite a broad survey of translation industry representatives in Europe. May not apply here, may not apply in Asia or anywhere else, but it is a survey. Others, I just completed supervising a doctoral thesis about the market in Portugal, where we did another questionnaire and got information. Now, what do employers say they want? In these particular surveys, the number 1 thing they want, can you guess? Accuracy. Top of the list, accuracy. They don't really care about much else. We just want it to be accurate, right? Why is that? Because they can't stand mistakes, because if there are mistakes, the client complains, they don't get enough money, and they look around and have to find new translators, okay? However, if you then do interviews with those employers and you say, well, look, in this particular job, was it more important to be accurate or to be on time? Is speed more important than accuracy? And they'll all tell you, for so many jobs that are being done, we need people who work fast. And missing the deadline is far more important than some minor mistakes. And what we really need are not people who just translate accurately. We need people who can revise very well and review and check. And there's all these new processes happening downstream that are supposed to take care of accuracy, and that's not reflected in the surveys. What the employers are saying, I suggest, is accuracy is important because that's what we sell to our clients. They can't say speed is important because you don't want to tell the clients that you just have to work fast. So I put brackets around all the advice from the employers, also because, as I mentioned, they only employ 1/3 of the graduates that we have in general in the exit surveys that I've been studying around the world. My third thing is surveys of students. As I said, half an hour ago or an hour, I get incoming students to ask 3 questions they want to know about translation, and only one can concern money, because they all want to get rich, and that's okay. I'll try to tell them how to get rich. And I've been doing this for about 15 years in the United States, in Austria, and in Australia. And I can look at all those questions and analyze them, and one thing appears in the past 6 years: extreme anxiety about technology. The number of questions about technology rises because people are hearing, oh, machine translation's really good, oh, it's going to take away my work, how can I make it work for me, and tell me more about this. So when I was asked here, half an hour ago perhaps, or more, should we teach technology, I should have said, yes, you have to teach technology, not because industry needs it. It's not true, not all industry needs it. In fact, we did a survey for the United Nations system and the European Commission system, and there they don't require any technology for the simple reason that once you get the job, you will learn their technologies. Okay, so don't make a big thing about it. Why should you teach the technologies? Because the students are worried about it, and you must address their concerns rather than, or perhaps with a bit more priority than the concerns of the employers down the road. So yes, I take those questions seriously, and when I teach, I try to answer them. Do I tell the students that they need technology? No. Do I tell them which program to use? No. What do? I set up experiments where, I don't know, for example, half the class uses post-editing and the other half does fully human. And we see who finishes first, and we see who gives the better result, because they evaluate each other. Students discover very quickly through in-class experiments, hey, you know what? Technology can do stuff for you. It can make you go faster, and it can improve the quality, particularly of the terminology. Number 4 thing. This is the last of 4. The surveys of where students go reveal lots of, how can I say this? In the reporting, lots of people have tried to hide the fact that the majority of translation graduates do not finish up being translators or interpreters. I mean, they just hide it underneath the statistics or different ways of calculating it. And I think we have to confront that fact. Now, as I went through all the surveys that I could find, one was incredibly interesting. It was done in Zurich at the School of Applied Sciences, where they have a BA and an MA program. And the MA program did a complete survey of where the graduates went 6 months out, 1 month out, 1 year out, 18 months out. And they did it, they did it properly, and that means phoning the students' phone numbers or their parents' phone numbers, so you really get information. And they found that the professional translators and interpreters was around 32%. What I expected, not good. But then they asked, what's your second job? And there, they got up to about 60% of people using their translation and interpreting skills. And then they asked, what's your third job? You know, the gig economy, the stuff you do occasionally, you know, when it comes up. And there, it got up to 95 or so percent. That is, what we find is that the translation and interpreting activities these days may not be the main job of people, but it's certainly something they do and combine with other professional activities. And this has really got me thinking about the value of what we train people in. We should not be obsessed with industry or bridging the gap. It's not a gap. There are bridges to many, many places, and they are all interesting places to go to. Of the 4 things that I have listed, which do I pay most attention to? Can you guess? Obviously the students, obviously what concerns them, obviously where they want to go and how I can help them get there, wherever it may be. Why is that? Why should we privilege our students? Because some academics talk about student-centered learning? Perhaps. No, it's because if the students don't have motivation, if you don't have motivation, you want to learn something, you will not learn. And you'll certainly not learn something as fascinating, as complex, as rich and demanding as translation and interpreting. Thank you very much.